Yeah, well, let's go man business.
Hello everyone, hope you're all good. That's how 50 Cent managed to quiet an entire family offensive. Diss records, alleged leaked federal paperwork, even graveyard visuals. All of it was brushed off with a deepfake clip and that signature smirk. But hold up, what King Harris uncovered before that silence, that's the piece 50 probably hoped would stay buried. Bloodlines and battle lines. Listen to this. If you thought the rap game couldn't get more ruthless in 2026, you clearly weren't paying attention to what just unfolded between two of hip-hop's most battle-tested veterans and a new generation that refused to sit quietly. Because what started as a simple debate, could 50 go bar for bar with T.I. on a versus stage, spiraled into one of the most personal, grimy, line-crossing feuds we've seen in years. We're talking about alleged paperwork getting blasted online, diss tracks dropping back-to-back like warning shots in a cipher, a late mother's graveside referenced as ammunition, and an entire family stepping into war with one of the most calculated trolls hip-hop has ever produced. And the aftershocks are still shaking the culture right now. It all ignited in early February 2026 when T.I. appeared on Nightcap with Shannon Sharpe and Chad Johnson on February 6th. He openly accused 50 Cent of backing out of a versus battle after initially agreeing to it. The way Tip framed it, they discussed everything face-to-face while promoting shows in Los Angeles, and it was all respectful until it went public. That's when 50 allegedly pulled back, abandoned the idea, and left T.I. looking blindsided in front of the culture. And if you know anything about Clifford Harris, you know he doesn't digest disrespect quietly. He said it plainly on record. According to him, 50 didn't want that smoke. Curtis Jackson, he implied, wasn't ready for a hit-for-hit comparison that might expose who really has the deeper catalog. Now this tension isn't brand new. They've traded shots since the early 2000s, but this time it felt heavier because T.I. felt personally played, not just by the refusal, but by how things allegedly unfolded behind closed doors. When a man tells you yes privately and then switches up once cameras roll, that hits deeper than any punchline. And just like that, the fuse was lit. What happened between February 7th and February 21st turned into a slow-burning spectacle with the entire internet locked in. 50 responded indirectly, posting memes and resurfacing old allegations labeling T.I. a snitch. And in hip-hop, that word carries nuclear weight. You don't toss that accusation lightly. It strikes at the core of street credibility, the very foundation many artists build their identity on. And 50 understood exactly what he was doing by amplifying those claims in front of millions. T.I. fired back on Instagram, making it clear he wouldn't let that narrative stand unchecked. Then on February 22nd, he appeared on $1 million worth of Game and said he'd lost all respect for 50 Cent, framing the versus reversal as weakness and part of a pattern from someone who'd rather post jokes than step into real competition. At that point, it wasn't about streams or chart numbers anymore. It was about respect. It was about legacy. It was about who could stand face-to-face and hold their crown without blinking. But between February 22nd and 23rd, everything crossed into territory nobody expected. Territory that split fans down the middle and forced people to question whether any lines in rap beef are still sacred. Because 50 Cent posted a controversial image of Tamika Tiny Harris, T.I.'s wife and King's mother, with a caption telling them to keep his name out of their mouths. Then he followed up with a meme comparing King Harris to Pepe the Frog, mocking the young man's appearance, including his vitiligo, a medical condition no one chooses and no one deserves ridicule over. And right there, the unwritten rule about keeping families out of rap warfare shattered. Going after someone's wife, targeting their son's skin condition, that's not playful trolling anymore. That's demolition. That's the kind of escalation that turns lyrical sparring into lifelong resentment. And King Harris, just 21, loyal to his bloodline, erupted on Instagram Live with a response so raw and unfiltered it sent shockwaves across every platform at once. You could hear the pain in his tone, you could see the anger written across his face, and you could feel the exact moment he decided consequences no longer mattered.
I want to say something about my mama. Your mama, go dig her up.
That right there, that's the sound of a young man who just watched a multi-millionaire mogul disrespect the woman who raised him, and he saw it happen in front of the entire world. And King wasn't finished, not even close. He came back with a level of heat that only erupts from real, uncut, unfiltered pain. Go dig her up. Post a picture of your mama. She paid respect. Stop playing with my mama. Now that line, telling 50 to dig up his mom's, was a direct nod to Sabrina Jackson, 50 Cent's mother, who died in 1984 when Curtis was just 8 years old. King even pushed it further, posting a video near her gravesite, a move that instantly split the internet right down the middle. Some said it was warranted. You clowned my living mama, so I'ma remind you yours isn't here anymore. Others argued it was a line that should never be crossed, no matter what. But King wasn't operating on logic. He was driven by loyalty, by pure adrenaline, by that protective instinct that doesn't pause to calculate PR fallout. And while the smoke from that first blast hadn't even cleared, King kept pressing forward, making it crystal clear this wasn't some fleeting internet tantrum that would die by sunrise. He wasn't playing like that. It wasn't going down like that. Know how y'all were raised. I'm not raised like that. That declaration, "I'm not raised like that," was King drawing a hard line between himself and everyone watching who thought he should have stayed silent out of respect for the 50s legacy. He was making it clear that where he comes from, nobody touches your mama's name and walks away clean. It doesn't matter how many plaques you have on the wall. It doesn't matter how many TV deals you sign.
About my mama, I'm not going. So tell your mama dig her ass up and post a picture that look better than my mama.
And then King flipped the script entirely. Instead of just meeting 50's energy with the same type of personal jabs, he went straight for the jugular with a psychological strike that landed differently, because it wasn't about bars, it wasn't about money, it wasn't about clout. It hit something 50 Cent can't buy with all the wealth in the world, something no business plays, no cultural clout, no amount of influence can ever replace. Don't ever come at me like that. Your son doesn't love you. You don't have any family. That right there, that's a body shot wrapped in a truth hip-hop's been whispering about for years. 50 Cent's strained relationship with his own son, Maurice Jackson. The public fallout, the back and forth, painted a picture of a man loaded with cash but missing the one thing that actually counts. And when the cameras cut and the comment feeds stopped scrolling,
But you not loved. Money means nothing without no one to spend it with. Your son don't love you.
your son doesn't love you. And just like that, the beef stopped being about rap and turned into real life, real wounds, real pain. The kind of hurt that doesn't vanish when you log off. King even dredged up old family drama around Maurice Jackson, twisting the knife deeper into scars that 50 had spent years trying to keep private. But King still wasn't finished showing the world exactly where his loyalty lies and why he set the entire internet ablaze to protect his blood.
Just because he share the same blood as you. I don't give a man, at the end of the day,
That right there, that's raw, uncut rage with no filter. No publicist signed off on it, no manager approved those words. That's a son riding for his mama with everything he's got. Career consequences? Forget them. I don't play with my mama. In the end, I didn't play with my mama. I don't play with my grandma. I don't play with either of my cousins. And just like that, the first round of what would become one of 2026's most viral beefs was loaded and locked in. The Harris family drew their line in the sand with permanent ink. But what they didn't realize, the real war, the documents, the disses, the silence, was only just getting started. The paperwork, the onslaught. By February 23rd to 24th, both sides were fully all in, no turning back, and the battlefield had expanded from IG Live rants into fully recorded music, which in hip-hop is basically signing your name in blood on a declaration of war. See, social posts vanish, stories expire, comments get buried under the next wave, but a diss track, that lives forever, on every streaming platform, picked up by search engines, a permanent chapter in your op's biography whether they like it or not. Both sides understood that math, which is exactly why they hit the studio. T.I. declared war and dropped his first record, literally titled War, going at 50 Cent's past and putting the whole culture on notice. This wasn't a social media spat anymore. It was a full-blown musical assault. Right behind him, King dropped Made Man. Some outlets called it Say Less, where he called out 50's L's to Kanye West and Rick Ross and roasted him for bullying women. This wasn't a freestyle recorded on a phone speaker in someone's living room. This was a produced, mixed, mastered piece of warfare built to live forever, a record that would follow 50 Cent's name every time someone typed it in a search bar. But T.I. wasn't about to let his son carry that alone. He came through with the right one, and the bars went straight at 50's whole persona, the keyboard warrior image, the meme-posting bully who talks tough behind a screen but supposedly folds when faced in real life. That bar? A small man in a big shell. That's Tip telling the world that behind all the muscle, all the social media bravado, all the trolling campaigns that crowned 50 the undisputed king of internet chaos, there's a man who won't step into a real arena when challenged face-to-face. That's lyrical surgery that sticks to a name like ink. And Tip didn't stop there. He also dropped Bully, calling 50 a novelty merchant, referencing resurfaced intimate product photos that had been floating as ammo in the beef. Then came the twist nobody saw coming, the move that turned a two-man war into a full-on family blitz. Damani Harris, T.I.'s other son, jumped in with his own record, sampling Outkast's Miss Jackson, going straight at the 50's late mother. The entire Harris bloodline mobilized like a unit, and the message was crystal clear. You come for one of us, you answer to all of us. But the biggest bomb? That hadn't even dropped yet. February 25th, 2026, a date everyone in hip-hop had to pick a side. That's when King Harris posted what he called the Humiliating files, alleged FBI documents from October 12, 2009, accusing 50 Cent of cooperating with authorities in the murder investigation of a G-Unit affiliate. According to these docs, 50 allegedly dropped an anonymous tip out of fear, pointing investigators at who was later convicted in 2017 for ordering the hit after his son got assaulted. King's caption read, "I have 21 questions, but just answered this one. So who was Lode Mac? Is this the person who called my pops a rat? No black and white? Well, here's yours, sir." That was nuclear. One Instagram post flipped the entire beef on its head. In a culture where the no-snitch code is gospel, where even an allegation of cooperating with law enforcement can get you blackballed from every studio, stage, and circle that counts, dropping alleged federal paperwork is the ultimate reputation killer. Doesn't matter if the docs were real or fake, the moment they hit the timeline, millions see, screenshot, and form opinions before anyone can fact-check. That's the genius and danger of what King did. 50 had spent weeks calling T.I. a rat, weaponizing the label to undermine everything Tip built, and now King flipped the script. The real informant is the one who's been pointing fingers this whole time. The hunter became the hunted. But here's where it gets really interesting and instructive about how hip-hop operates beneath the surface. Those documents had already been debunked as fabricated back in 2019. TMZ and federal sources confirmed there was no official FBI link tying 50 Cent to being an informant. Henchman's conviction was built on separate evidence, unrelated to any anonymous tip from Curtis Jackson. Similar accusations from ops like Irv Gotti and French Montana popped up over the years and fizzled under scrutiny every single time. So King was basically recycling old ammo already examined and discarded by every credible outlet that looked. But in hip-hop, perception hits louder than truth, and timing hits harder than accuracy. Even debunked paperwork can plant seeds of doubt when it lands just as millions of emotionally invested fans are picking sides. In a culture run on reputation, the accusation alone is a weapon, and King swung it like he knew virality doesn't need verification. He made it clear where he stood, rejecting the whole online trolling culture that 50 built his second act career on.
That's on my soul. I don't give a how y'all think of living. I don't give a how y'all think of raise.
That right there, a young man telling millions of viewers he doesn't care how the internet works, doesn't care about the unwritten rules of online beef, that was the clearest signal yet that King wasn't playing by the usual digital playbook. He was playing by street rules, family rules, rules that don't bend for follower counts or blue check marks.
I don't play by it. That's just how I'm raised. I'm just how I'm raised.
So, by the time that paperwork was blowing up across every major hip-hop outlet in every timeline in the country, the question on everybody's mind was the same. What's 50 Cent gonna do now? Let's be real, this was uncharted territory for Curtis Jackson, the man who built an empire trolling, who turned internet warfare into an art form that arguably kept him more relevant in 2026 than at the peak of his music run. A man who, in 2 full decades of beefs with some of the biggest names in the game, had never been put on the back foot like this by somebody half his age, with a fraction of his resources and nothing to lose. The disses were stacking, the paperwork was spreading, the family offensive showed zero signs of slowing down. Would he escalate past memes and actually hit the booth? Would he fire back with something even more devastating from his own vault? Or would the weight of King's offensive finally push him towards something nobody in the history of this beef, or maybe Curtis's entire career, ever expected? Silence and the aftermath. That's exactly where the saga took its wildest turn. Because on February 26th to 27th, 50 Cent, the man who made a whole career out of never backing down, never deleting, never apologizing, wiped every single feud-related post off his Instagram. Every meme he crafted, every piece of paperwork he posted about T.I., every shot he fired at King. Gone, scrubbed clean like it never existed. And in their place, he dropped a message that read, "You guys hurt my feelings. I'm out of here." On the surface, it looked like classic 50 Cent sarcasm, the slick deflection he's been mastering for decades. But underneath the joke, something in the dynamic had clearly shifted. The troll king blinked, or at least that's what it looked like. T.I. dropped Lessons, his 4th disc in this war, posting it over a photo of 50 with an intimate novelty item. 4 recorded tracks in roughly 1 week. That's output that would impress anybody at any stage of their career, let alone someone who's been in the game as long as Tip. And King? He wasn't letting up either. He kept pulling up old allegations from 50's former partners, including arson claims and assault footage, building a full arsenal of ammo designed to keep 50 under pressure indefinitely, drip-feeding controversy like a faucet that won't shut off. But 50's response, the one that really showed how he planned to navigate this storm, came in a form nobody could have predicted. Instead of matching the Harris family's intensity, instead of escalating with more personal attacks or diss tracks, 50 posted an AI-edited clip from the movie ATL, deepfaking his own face into the scene aimed straight at King Harris. And the message buried inside that clip told you everything about the 50's strategy.
Ain't heard from you in a while, where you been?
Exactly. That casual, almost dismissive energy, dropping a deep fake clip from a movie that literally starred T.I., was 50 Cent's way of saying to King and the entire Harris family, "I don't even see this as a war between equals." He framed the whole thing like it was just a minor inconvenience, a brief interruption in his regular grind of stacking paper and closing deals. It wasn't about ego or overreacting, it was strategic dominance, showing that no matter how loud the offensive got, he still controlled the narrative.
I'm cool. Yeah, I'm cool. It's just taking me a minute, that's all.
Exactly. That line hits on 2 levels. On one hand, 50 Cent is real, acknowledging that King's offensive mentions of his mom and the family attacks shook him in a way that most beefs never do. It forced him to actually pause, take stock, and recalibrate his whole approach. But on the flip side, that pause ain't weakness, it's strategic. He's sending a signal that this is temporary, a calculated repositioning, not a surrender. It's classic 50, letting the world think he stepped back while he's really plotting the next move.
I'm gonna straighten everything out as soon as I get that money. Remember what I told you, right? Yeah.
and then dropped the 4 words that sealed 50 Cent's judgment on King Harris's entire role in this saga. The phrase that crushed any notion that 50 ever saw this young man as a real threat worth battling on equal footing. What? Yep, this is a grown man's business. Straight grown man business. That's 50 letting a 21-year-old know he doesn't belong in this ring, no matter how many Instagram rants he blasts, no matter how many resurfaced receipts he parades, no matter how many diss tracks his family launches as a unit. In 50's eyes, King's still a kid stumbling into a room packed with veterans, totally unaware he's swimming in waters way over his head. And that dismissal? Honestly, it hits harder than any direct attack ever could, because it robbed King of the one thing he was desperate for, being recognized as a real contender. Now, the fallout? Absolute chaos. Social media corners exploded with shifting alliances and old grudges creeping up like ghosts that won't stay buried. Rick Ross jumped fully in with King Harris, even pushing a savage tea mocking 50's moms, showing just how deep old scores still sting and how quick legends are to ride into someone else's war to land a blow on a past foe. Ross and 50, their beef goes back over a decade. This move wasn't about backing King, it was about twisting the knife while someone else was already holding it. Charleston White broke his silence, calling out the double standards on both sides, pointing out how a culture that worships trolling suddenly sets moral limits when the heat hits home. Meanwhile, vets like Jim Jones tried to remain neutral, but the gravity of this beef dragged ancient disputes back into the spotlight, whether anyone wanted them or not. Fans split right down the middle. One camp cheered King for defending his mom with everything he had, saying 50 threw the first shot at Tiny and deserved every bit of retaliation. The other side, they argued King sabotaged his career by disrespecting a woman's resting place, saying no provocation excuses crossing that line, regardless of who started it or how deep the original slight ran. And then comes the wild moment that proves how far this spiral went beyond hip-hop. The beef went so viral that actual police departments got fan calls, forcing public statements clarifying that they weren't stepping into a rap feud. The situation had completely escaped the culture and hit mainstream awareness in ways nobody saw coming. And those humiliating files, the alleged FBI docs King dropped as his supposed knockout, they actually revealed something far bigger than anyone snitching. They exposed how toxic hip-hop's no-snitch code really is, a rule that values silence over safety, treating working with authorities as a moral crime even when lives are at risk.
And it gets weaponized. Fake evidence can ruin reputations regardless of truth. Social media lit up with warnings. Posting fake papers in this scene isn't just careless, it's potentially deadly for credibility and real-world safety. So where are we now? No apologies from either side. King Dunn declared he's just getting started, signaling he's not done yet. 50's camp, the affiliates, the Gunnet crew, the decades-built network stayed strategically quiet, letting that AI clip and those 3 words speak volumes. T.I. dropped 4 diss tracks and isn't backing down. The leaked docs? Debunked, but still doing damage in the court of public opinion. And the culture? Left wrestling with the same questions after every explosion. Where are the lines? Who gets to draw them? And what happens when someone with nothing to lose crosses every single one? 50's silence, the deleted posts, the sarcastic farewell, the grown man dismissal might be the most calculated move of this entire saga, because while King Harris brought the chaos, the files, the family strikes, and viral moments, 50 hit back with something stronger than any diss, meme, or leaked doc could ever be. He struck with the one thing that drives a young man craving recognition absolutely nuts: pure, cold indifference. And in hip-hop, sometimes the loudest statement is the one you never even make. Oh, thanks for reading. Make sure to subscribe to my channel.